Hello and welcome to the Ice Guys. This is the show that takes you into the world of the National Hockey League. Every game, every day, from a betting perspective. With pro sports handicappers, Ian Cameron, Alex B. Smith, and various guests from the world of hockey and sports betting. And now, here's your host, Ian Cameron.
Welcome to the Ice Guys, Sunday, March 24th, presented by Boston Hemp Inc. Ian Cameron, Alex B. Smith, and here with us on a Sunday because he couldn't join us Thursday, Matt Robinson, a rare Sunday appearance from him. Happy to have him with us. And Connor Mack, our Sunday guest, will be along momentarily as well, ready to break down the Sunday card. This ain't your average Sunday, boys. My goodness, it is a big slate for a Sunday here in the NHL. 10 games on the docket for this Sunday card, so we'll get to those in just a moment. But because we got so many Sunday games, we got no time to dick around, no time to fiddly fool around. We've got to get right to it here with the Saturday recap, and it was a busy Saturday. I'll just highlight some of the bigger games. I mean, we don't really need to break down every nth degree, for example, of Chicago-San Jose, although I know I'll let Alex talk about that game a little bit. But certainly yesterday, Islanders, man, started the day with a rather stunning win against Winnipeg. Not so much they won, but they just dominated Winnipeg 6-3. It was a horrible performance by the Winnipeg Jets, who have to play, by the way, early this afternoon. The first game off the map here against Washington. Just a terrible game from the Jets. They got what they deserved. They got badly outplayed. It looked like they were flat as a pancake right from the opening faceoff. Islanders took it to them right away, and it was a dominant 6-3 win for the Islanders and a much, much, much needed victory for Patrick Waugh's team to stop the bleeding, end the losing streak, and get 2 big points that they definitely needed. Flyers 3-2 over the Bruins. That was a very good hockey game. Hell of a big win for the Flyers. Big 2 points for them against a very good Boston team, and Tyson Forster getting the overtime winner. Blues with the 5-4 comeback win against the Wild in overtime. That made me quite happy. I had the Blues the full game over. I was very happy to see both of those cash in. Jake Neighbors gets on the board again, cashes another goal prop for me. So lots to like about that Blues 5-4 victory. Nashville and Detroit, man, this was playoff hockey. 1-0 Nashville. Philip Forsberg goal late in the third period proves to be the only goal of the game. And what I loved about that game is you can tell it's just a spontaneous, spur-of-the-moment fight between two totally unexpected combatants, Philip Forsberg and Mo Seider. Man, that was so awesome. That's what you love about this time of year. The games are important. The points are important. And it just shows that, hey, you know, I'm not much of a fighter. If I'm Forsberg, I'm thinking that Seider, you know, that was his first NHL fight for him. You know, it's just this was a big time rivalry back in the day when Detroit was in the Central Division. And of course, we saw definitely the Predators were looking to keep the point streak going. Detroit's desperate for points. It was a cantankerous game. There was a lot of agitation throughout that game. And spur of the moment, look, tempers flare, and they dropped the gloves and said, let's go. I think that was just super cool. Love seeing it. It's that time of year. And when you see something like that, 2 of your better star players on both sides there, because that's a star defenseman for Detroit and Seider, and certainly Forsberg, star player for the Predators, and he's been awesome during this run. It's super cool to see that, both of them dropping the Dukes and getting into a spirited scrap in that game. 1-0 Nashville. Ottawa beats New Jersey 5-2. Typical Devils. I'm not even shocked. Not even in the least, that they would lose a game at home like that to Ottawa. I mean, if the season wasn't over already, it probably is now for the Devils with that 5-2 loss to Ottawa. Great performance by Toronto. Heck of a game there, 6-3 against Edmonton. Yes, Edmonton made it a little interesting late, but a lot of it was power play power play goals for Edmonton that got them back in it. Keep in mind, they did not give up a 5-on-5 even strength goal to Edmonton last night. So it was a very impressive performance. Ilya Samsonov gets injured late in the game, has to come out. But Sheldon Keefe said after the game, doesn't look too serious, and it doesn't look like it's going to be anything long-term for him. So a big sigh of relief, and for Leaf fans, certainly. Max Domi gets into a fight with Matthias Janmark, and Ty, his father, in the crowd watching it. That was pretty cool. So that was fun to watch. But 6-3 Toronto, they get the win there. Game of the day, game of the night, hands down. Panthers Rangers, absolutely tremendous. What a hockey game! Great and great. I always accuse the Madison Square Garden crowd sometimes of a little wine and cheese environment in the regular season. They do amp it up in the playoffs, but sometimes in the regular season it's a little sterile and quiet in that building. Not last night. They were into it, and they knew it was a big opponent coming in there. Great game, great comeback by the Rangers after falling down 2-0. The draw cashes for both Alex and I. We get some of the over. We missed out, unfortunately, with the first period there. But at the end of the day, we do at least get the full game over 5.5 with that. The draw cashes. I did have Florida, though, and I thought they could win that game. They had it, but credit to the Rangers. Found a way to win. The overtime was sensational. What a save Bobrovsky made in that overtime. And then there was a play right in the other end of the ice where it looked like Florida was going to win the game, and it was swept off the goal line right there when it looked like it could have been over. So it was just a phenomenal overtime, phenomenal game. Rangers win 4-3. Vancouver beats Calgary 4-2. Pretty workmanlike effort from the Canucks last night, taking care of business. Team total for me cashes with Vancouver in that game. Chicago, what a crazy comeback against San Jose. 5-4 over the Sharks in overtime. That's now 2 starts for Devin Cooley in the NHL against Chicago, and he shit the bed in the third period. Something to circle and be aware of moving forward. Third periods have not been kind. It's almost like he gets nervous, gets tight, in the third period, and we kind of saw that again in the Chicago Blackhawks with a big third period comeback to beat San Jose 5-4 in overtime. In that one, Vegas 4-2 against Columbus, kind of like Vancouver. It wasn't pretty, but they get the job done. They should have beat Columbus. They did beat Columbus 4-2. They get the win there. And then LA with a 4-3 overtime win, cooling off the red-hot Tampa Bay Lightning with an overtime win. This game was just beautiful. A chef's kiss for me with this game, Lightning and Kings. First period over, best bet cashes. Full game over cashes, and the draw with this Lightning and Kings team. Or Lightning and Kings game. So it was just absolutely outstanding to see all 3 of those come through in that one. Alex, thoughts on a huge Saturday?
Yeah, we'll start with that game, Tampa Bay and LA, because that was a really interesting, like I said, back and forth battle. And I like Tampa Bay in that spot. Unfortunately, don't get the win there, but I was able to grab the live draw in the second intermission. I did that with 2 games, that game and Blues Wild. And that's something, like I said, I'm going to be looking at a little bit more. Obviously, we look at all the different draws pregame and we want to get the best of the price there. But we can look at situations and look at timing now the same way we're looking at with different things like next to score and those kind of props, and start kind of looking at grabbing some late draw prices, getting that last call price that I always talk about. When you see it's going to be 3. I think with Tampa Bay, it was actually, I just got it exactly at plus 300. A few minutes later, it went down to 290 and 280. So we want to try and get in that range of plus 300 or higher and grabbing live draws. That's something I'll be targeting a little bit more. That was a fantastic game to watch, as was Chicago and San Jose. And you mentioned about the fight that happened with Forsberg with the Nashville-Detroit game. We saw Luke Kunin and Andres Anastasio fight, which just was really strange. These are 2 guys who don't fight, 2 teams that are well out of it, fighting for the first pick overall in the draft and dropping the gloves. I've been seeing a lot more just good old
spontaneous fights,
right?
Spur of the moment,
spur of the moment fights. Yeah, some hostility, some anger, some good agitation in these games, whether they mean something like Nashville, Detroit, or don't, like Chicago and San Jose. So that was really fun to see on both ends of that spectrum. That Nashville Detroit game was a bit of a bad beat for me. Having the draw, seeing it just be scoreless, keep refreshing, thinking that there might be something wrong with my phone. They're like, oh, there's still no goals. And all of a sudden you get the one late from Nashville. So incredible run by them. 17 in a row with a point, 15-0-2 for a team that most of us thought would be, fighting for a draft spot at this time of the season if you had asked us in October. A hell of a run and a hell of a job by Andrew Brunette. If you want to try and get some futures, I'm sure the numbers go up or go down, I should say, by the day, the value with Andrew Brunette for Jack Adams. But he certainly, I think, may have thrown his name into that finalist group. Definitely should be one of the 3 based on this run that he's and if you add this into what he did with Florida in an interim spot, it just kind of shows you that this guy really has the chops to be a quality head coach in this league. A bit streaky. He's gonna have to have a season where he can maybe do this throughout the year, but obviously a hell of a run for that team. And then also looking at Florida, New York. I mean, now this game had the first period over and both teams to score hit. This would have been chef's kiss for me because I said 3. I had a little bit of 3-3 correct score in pocket. hit the draw. And just a fantastic back and forth game to watch. If that ends up being our Eastern Conference final, we are in for one hell of a treat in late May. So that's definitely a good one. And just to talk about Boston and Philly, watching that game, and we liked the first period over, and things are kind of slow, and all of a sudden you just saw an explosion of goals back and forth. And
I thought I was going to get the full game over in miracle fashion. Right,
it looked like that. It looked like that. It was funny. In fact, I was doing stuff around the house, and my mom had the game on. She goes, went from 1-0 to 2-2 already, and that was the first thing I said. I said, "Well, Ian has the full game over." I'm like, so hopefully that keeps on going. But yeah, it's just a great day, wall to wall of hockey, and now here we are with 10 games on a Sunday. That's something that doesn't happen too often. So hoping for another good day and a more profitable day even than yesterday.
No doubt. You're right. There are going to be more Sunday games moving forward. There's going to be most Sundays are going to have 6-7 games moving forward at least. But 10, I don't think everyone's going to be 10 like this one. This is definitely a big Sunday slate. Matt, I know you were out and about yesterday. You didn't watch as much hockey as maybe you would have liked, but what did you think of what we saw?
Yeah, I sort of watched the early games, and then it kind of led to being out, and obviously March Madness is going on, so I was betting a little more on basketball than hockey as the day went on, but I also was on the Boston Philly first period over and game over, but I was able to make up some of that money. I think the Boston game was was 1-0 late in the second, and I live bet that at plus or over 3.5, and I didn't even mean to do this, but the St. Louis Minnesota game was 1-0, and it was plus money at 5.5. So I took both of them, and I thought I'd put a couple bucks on each bet, but I ended up parlaying it like plus 500. So obviously those both came to fruition. So that was a nice little, okay, I'll take that. So gotta love when you accidentally parlay two games and it hits. But outside of that, I did have the over in the Winnipeg Islanders game, which obviously was not a sweat. I got in at 5.5, like I think it was like minus 115, like pretty good odds. So that one hit. That was not a sweat given the fact that the Islanders had 3 in the first period alone. And obviously as a Stars fan, love to see Winnipeg sort of struggling right now, 5-5 in their last 10. It's kind of opening things up to where I feel confident that Dallas can put themselves in a position to at least get second in the Central. So at least they have home ice through the first round. But yeah, outside of that, I mean, I was kind of keeping up with the Detroit-Nashville game, as you mentioned. I kind of thought my phone was broken as well. It was like 0-0 with 8 minutes left. I thought we were going to have one of the 0-0 draw scores. And then really kind of, I stopped, watching. Now you guys are making me feel like I need to go rewatch the Florida-New York game. So I didn't catch any of that. And obviously it looks like it was a great game, but I sort of watched a little bit of that Toronto-Edmonton game. And I mean, Toronto sort of dominated that game. I know Edmonton ended up scoring a couple late in the third, but that was really all Toronto the whole game. So that was good to see. But yeah, overall, pretty good day. Also had some good hits on the basketball side of things. So that's always nice to see this time of year. But yeah, looking forward to a 10-game Sunday because as you mentioned, typical Sunday is maybe 2 games. Like you get one morning game and then one game at like 4:00 Pacific. But yeah, starting in like 15 minutes and then running through 6:00 Pacific time. So it'll be a big day of basketball and hockey. So I'm looking forward to watching today.
Yep. It's a coach day. There's no question about that. And the coach day is about to begin, at least NHL. There already is the first NCAA tournament game off and running. But as far as NHL is concerned, the first game gets going in just 15 minutes from now. The Winnipeg Jets and the Washington Capitals. And man, the Jets, these are 2 ugly road losses they've had in a row where they were bad. They were bad against New Jersey, undisciplined against New Jersey. We just saw the Devils lose at home to Ottawa last night, and I think they were even worse yesterday to start the game like that. After they had lost to New Jersey the way they did, to start the game the way they did yesterday against the Islanders coming off that New Jersey loss was even more inexplicable. So now the Jets back-to-back trying to erase those memories of a brutal game yesterday. Minus 140 road favorites, 5.5 the total in this game. Very interesting decision by Scott Arniel, the acting head coach, who, of course, is taken over with Rick Bowness away from the team due to health reasons, that he's going back to Connor Hellebuck in net here in this game. And this was supposed to be Laurent Brossoit's game initially because Hellebuck got the start yesterday, but he was pulled, in the first half of that game. Brossoit came in, And I think Arneal's thinking is, look, Hellebuck was not great yesterday. The whole team wasn't good, but he struggled as well. He's a bounce-back type of goalie. He's been very good after losses. He's been even better after games where he's been pulled. He's had a very, very strong track record in these spots. That being said, I'm not laying $140 against a team that needs the points desperately, that has the rest advantage in this game. So this is a game I'm just going to sit back and watch. Nothing on the side, nothing on the total. Actually, you know what? That's not true. I'm going to sprinkle on the draw a little bit. I think it's a decent draw candidate. Again, East versus West. Neither team cares if the other gets points here in this game. We saw Washington go to overtime, obviously, Friday night in that game against Carolina, that wild and crazy game against the Hurricanes. So I'll have a little draw sprinkle, not much other than that. 5.5 seems tempting to want to bet over with what we've seen out of these two teams, but you got Washington off that 7-6 game. They're going to want to tighten things up. You know Winnipeg's going to want to tighten things up after giving up 6 yesterday, and Hellebuck's not a goalie after getting pulled that I want to bet an over. I just don't. Long term, he's been excellent in these kind of situations, so I could see this being a lower scoring game. I initially leaned over, and I still do, but I talked myself out of it. Just the draw for me. Alex, what do you think here? Winnipeg, Washington.
Yeah, this is one of those games where I'll be betting to draw small pregame and looking to grab a little bit of it in game, especially if we have a spot where one team's up by a goal, maybe in the second period, second intermission around that time. And I like what Scott O'Neill's doing with Hellebuck. Yeah, let him, throw that game out of your mind. It's a fresh start, a new day, get back in net, and also, that you're going to need that focus, and you're not going to have that. Obviously, I don't know what the schedules are going to look like in the playoffs, but we could see back-to-back games in the first round of the Stanley Cup, considering how condensed everything has been leading into the end of the season. So, get prepared for that and be prepared for that. Top goalies, granted, this is a guy who's logged some heaviest minutes in the league over the last 5-6 years, but top goalies should be able, when your team needs it, to play back-to-back starts. You don't want to do that in October, November, but you definitely want to be able to do that in March, April, May, and beyond. So I like that move here, and I think that's going to kind of work out. Washington obviously needing the points as much as they can. We saw draw season at its finest in their last games, 6-6 draw. But I think it'll be a little bit lower scoring than that. But like you said, the over could be in play as well, too. So great live game, but definitely a little bit of the draw and pocket pregame.
Matt, what do you like here? Winnipeg, Washington.
Yeah, so before the show, I jumped on first period and game total over. First period over, again, I've mentioned it before. I love the early weekend games. I just, like there to be a couple goals early in the first period. Obviously, it didn't hit yesterday. It did in the Winnipeg game.
I find those haven't been coming through as much as they did early in the season, honestly, Matt. Those early game first period overs, those early game full game overs. I mean, that Boston Philly was an example of it.
Yeah, they've been spotty for sure, but and then 5.5. I mean, just given how these teams have played, I don't think Hellebuck's playing as well as he, obviously is capable of playing. Washington needs the points. That's kind of why I like the first period over here. Is I think Winnipeg is thinking, we shit the bed 2 games in a row. We need a good start. And then Washington's in the boat of, we need to win this game. We're at home. We need every single point at this point. I do like the draw. I may follow you guys on the draw for a couple bucks, but yeah, I think both teams want a good start here, given, where they're at in the standings. Winnipeg, 2 bad games in a row. And then, I think this could easily be a 3-3 draw type situation. So the total at 5.5 is enticing. I may even, if we're watching and it's 0-0, 10 minutes in, I may double down on the over if it gets down to like 4.5 as well. So those would be my only pregame plays. I don't like a side here, just given, where both teams are at.
Well, we'll see if bounce back Helly continues here today, because this is long term been his spot, consistently just delivering 2 goals or less and winning in these spots, playing after he gets pulled in his previous start. We'll see if that continues here this afternoon. I don't want to go nuts on the props because it could be, I think, lower scoring. Could be, that is. But there are a couple. Ovechkin, he's heating up. There's no doubt. I wouldn't argue with maybe taking a shot there with him. And then on the Jets side of the equation, if you look at their lineups here going into this game, Nikolai Ehlers, someone in the chat was mentioning how he's moved up the lineup here today. Yes, there's some truth to that with Scheifele and with Appleton on the top line. Appleton definitely is going to have some value, I think, playing on the top line. So a little line juggling here from Scotty Arniel after the back-to-back losses. So there's definitely some value there. Top line, Ehlers, Appleton, Nemesnikov's on the second line. Toffoli shifted down to the third line. I don't know if that's a symbol of him not playing well, but nevertheless, he's been bumped down just a little bit. But looking for a shakeup here, Scott Arniel. After back-to-back losses. All right, the next game is the TNT. It's a TNT afternoon matchup, Pittsburgh Penguins and Colorado Avalanche. We've got Colorado minus 260 home favorites in this game. Total sitting at 6.5 across the board. I like over already for sure. First period over, full game over. We've talked about this ad nauseum with Pittsburgh. They are a dead nuts over team right now, okay? And I know that was a bad beat on the full game over with Dallas the other night, but it should have got there. Like that was an empty net goal, it looked like, but called back because of offside. Remember, that game still did go over the total in the first period on Friday night with the Penguins and the Stars. Fact remains, somehow, some way you want to be on a first period over, a full game over, and specifically the opponent team total, whoever is playing the Pittsburgh Penguins right now, because this is not a very good defensive team right now. We've talked about this for weeks. They struggle to keep the puck out of the net. Their defense is slow. You think of Letang, who's got a lot of miles on that body of his. It's just and that blue line's just not very good right now. Carlson's a defensive liability. The depth on that blue line, they have no depth. That's the point. And you can see that they're struggling right now to keep the puck out of the net. They have given up 3 goals or more in 5 straight games. They've given up 9 in their last 2 games combined against the Devils and the Stars. So now you got to play one of the hottest teams in the NHL and try to shut them down at Ball Arena on their home ice, where they're usually even more lethal. Yeah, good luck with that if you're the Pittsburgh Penguins here this afternoon. In this game, it looks like, as far as the goaltending situation here for this matchup, we are going to have for the Pittsburgh Penguins, Alex Nedeljkovic, and it should be Georgiev for Colorado once again, although it hasn't been confirmed just yet. I don't think there's much of a difference right now, Jari to Nedeljkovic. It's more a product of the goalies aren't great right now for Pittsburgh, either one, but this is more of an issue of the blue line in front of these goalies. It's just not good. And they're giving up odd man rushes. They're breaking down in coverage in the defensive zone repeatedly, and it's been an issue throughout the season and especially of late here for the Penguins. So I think it's an opportunity for Colorado to keep this offensive onslaught going during this win streak. Their next game is at home against Montreal, so there's absolutely zero look-ahead spot here for Colorado. During this 8-game win streak, they have scored at least 4 goals in 6 of the 8 games during this win streak. They've scored 10 in the last 2 games against the Blues and the Blue Jackets. And you look at home ice, what they've done, other than a 2-1 tight game against Minnesota, 5 goals against Chicago, 7 against Detroit, 6 against Columbus in their last game. So, yeah, for me, this is a clear choice. First period over, full game over, Penguins and Avs. And I'm going to take a look at the Colorado team total over here. Now, I know you're not getting a bargain here because they're a big favorite here in this game. And it looks like with the current price for this team total, we're looking at 3.5, minus 150 to minus 160 at most books. Yes, it's a little juicier than I would like, but I'm still laying the number. Sometimes you got to lay a little bit of a bigger price to get the bet you want. And that's what I'm going to do here, over 3.5, minus 150 to minus 160 here for the Colorado Avalanche. Alex, what do you think here? Penguins, Avs.
Yeah, I'm going to, over trifecta, but with a little live twist, obviously. I'm going first period over and full game over is live because these numbers are just way too high. I'm looking at $1.60, $1.70 for the first period over, $6.50, $1.15. I don't mind that price, that number. Just want to get that price. So we're looking $1.40, $1.35 adjusted a couple minutes in for the first period over, and maybe hopefully grab it even money or a plus $1.05 for that 6.5. And I like both teams to score pregame. I got that plus 158. Like I said, just looking at goals here. Pittsburgh, and look at Colorado, especially if it's going to be Georgiev. We keep talking about this. The more that this guy plays in the regular season, and logging these heavy minutes, and He's going to see shots. I don't think Pittsburgh's just going to completely lay down in this game. I think they will still give some effort. Crosby is going to be geared up. So they're going to be goals going both ways in this game. This should be a fun one, good one for TNT. And I definitely think we see that over cash in. Grab those prices a little bit lower live. Wait a couple minutes before that game starts.
This might surprise people. You mentioned Pittsburgh might put up a battle. I think if you like Pittsburgh early in games has shown up. We saw, obviously, they got on the board first against Dallas on Friday night. And I could look, Colorado did give up an early goal Friday night against Columbus, but that's all Columbus got in that game. So, I might put a little both teams. I might turn it into a trifecta from a bifecta here in this game, because I think I could see maybe both teams scoring in the opening period here in this game. And you're certainly going to get a good price. I see upwards of plus 170, plus 180 at some books with the first period, both teams to score here in this game. No question about that, because Pittsburgh has been popping in the odd early goal. There's no doubt. We saw it again against Dallas. Columbus scored an early goal against Colorado on Friday night. So definitely, maybe I'll add that both teams to score first period to go with the full first period over, full game over, and that Colorado team total over. Matt, what do you think here? Pittsburgh, Colorado.
Yes, so I'm going to play it similar, but a little bit different as well. I'm actually going to, on MGM, you can obviously go higher with totals, individual totals, all that sort of stuff. So I'm going to play the first period over at 2, which is plus money. I'm going to play the full game over at 7, which is plus 135. And then I'm going to take the Avs team total over 4. Obviously going to hope for like a 5-3 type game. But it gives you, there's always the option that all 3 of those could push, and then it's no harm, no foul. And then I'll also be checking this out live because, as Alex mentioned, if it is a slower start, you'll get a better price. So I may jump on the first period over and double down if the first 5 minutes go by and there's no goals, things like that. But so I'm on sort of an over bifecta and team total over, but just like a little differently to try and get those plus money. I think it's very likely Colorado can score 5 goals, but I'm not sure Georgiev can keep under 2 goals given up. So that'll be how I'll play it. It'll be a little weird, but and it is the TNT game, so I'll be watching. So that adds to the idea of hopefully. I saw Terry in the chat saying hopefully 7 goals in the first period. So hopefully we get like a crazy high scoring affair. So that would be ideal for me.
There you go. Excellent. So definitely we will see if we get the goals that we are looking for here in this matchup with the especially from the Colorado side of things here in this game. And as far as player props, this is definitely one of those candidates where, and you can do this. And I was on a lot of Dallas props against Pittsburgh, and I'm going to be a lot of opponent player props against Pittsburgh the rest of the way this season, just by how much of a deficient defensive team they are right now. And right now, I think, again, it almost hit the other night. Did it hit the other night? I think it did. Did our Rantanen over 1.5 points, McKinnon over 1.5 points, Big Val goal prop hit Friday night? I think it did.
I'm not sure. I gotta look and see. I'm not sure if that. I'll check and see.
All right, we're back. Sorry about that. But yeah, I believe last game that did hit. Yes, it did. Thank you, Benjamin. Sorry, there's so much going on this weekend. You forget things that happened sometimes 2 days ago, and that's exactly what happened. But yeah, I mean, I would run that back. I'd think about it anyway, with over 1.5 points for McKinnon and for Rantanen and Val to get a goal. You could even put in. You know what you can do? I would do a straight point parlay today. Val, Nate, Nico, and Kale. Those 4 guys, just put them in all to get at least 1 point. Bare bones minimum. I think that's pretty good here in this game. Go with something like that, because this should be a points party. It's like Oprah. You get a point, everybody gets a point. That's what it should be here for Colorado today against this Penguins defense, which has been just unsightly bad, for much of the last month or so. So when I look at it here, we'll put it together just very, very quickly here. Just bare bones minimum. We're not asking for much. We're asking for 1 point from these guys. That's it. Just 1 point. We'll put the thing together right now. Val, here we go. Val, wait a minute. Where are we here? Val, where? there's some guys missing here from this. Wait a second here. Hold on here. Okay, there we go. Val. Okay, Nate. Looks like plus 500. It's pretty good. Just
that's great
for all those guys.
Yeah.
Plus 500. There we go. That's Nate. That's Kale. That's Miko, and that's Val. There you go. Nichushkin, Rantanen, McKinnon, Makar. The four cornerstones of this team offensively. And Taves and Drew Atkin. Like that's if you really want to make it a big bang type of price. You can put in a Devon Taves and a Jonathan Drouin, as Rocco says in the chat as well. So definitely there's something you can take a look at. Lehkonen, don't sleep on him either. He's capable of getting points. Like you could keep the core forward there, Cale Makar, Nathan McKinnon, Mikko Rantanen, and Val Nichushkin. But you can then spice it up and maybe go with a smaller bet and throw in Drouin and throw in Taves and throw in Arturi Lehkonen. So definitely. And as Po Buddies Nerfic says, Rantanen, McKinnon, Makar, and Drouin all got 2 or more points in the game on Friday against Columbus for this Colorado team. So it's definitely a lot of ways you can go about approaching this. No question. So get creative because this is definitely a game where, when you can pigeonhole these games where you one team you think could dominate offensively over the other. These are the kind of games you can look at a same game parlay and have positive expectations for good results. No question. All right, next up as we continue along here, this is the third and final afternoon game here this afternoon. The New Jersey Devils taking on the New York Islanders. We've got the Islanders minus 130, home favorite, 6.5 the total in this game. Momentum play a little bit, but I'm going to grab a little Islanders here, minus 130. A little momentum play coming off the win, snapping the losing streak, a little positivity now back in the dressing room for Patrick Waugh's team as they try to make another playoff push. There's no playoff push to be made anymore in New Jersey. Okay, it's done. They're not going to make it. They're too far back now. I think definitely when you look at this, I like this situation for the Isles and that they went through the abyss, the bad losing streak, some terrible performances there, but they came out decisively early in that game against Winnipeg, put the boots to the Jets, didn't look back, and now you come into this game with a little bit of momentum. You carry that over. I know New Jersey's going to want to play better. Nobody was happy about that Ottawa game last night, but I don't know if they're capable of playing better because I just think this team now, really, when you lose a game like that, they had just had 2 nice wins in a row. They had beaten Winnipeg. They had beaten Pittsburgh earlier this week. Looks like maybe they can start to get on a run, and then it's like one step forward. And you could say 2, if not 3 steps back last night with a loss like that at home against the Ottawa Senators. So don't trust New Jersey here, second of back-to-back games. And it looks like, too, keep in mind, this is a back-to-back situation here for the Devils after playing. And plus, they played last night. Islanders played yesterday afternoon. So there is a little bit of the back-to-back is not as detrimental for the Islanders because they had the early game yesterday. Sorokin in net for the Islanders, and then just to put the icing on the cake of why I like the Isles, and I'll probably split it up with team total over. Double K, Kaka, not the great soccer player, far from it. We're talking Kaapo Kakkonen here for the New Jersey Devils, likely to get the start on the back-to-back here against the New York Islanders. So obviously, if it's him, we have zero faith in him. We have zero confidence in him. At least I don't. So, yeah, for me, it's Islanders minus 130 split with team total here over 3.5. What do you think here, Alex? Devils, Islanders?
Yes, I'm going to go with Islanders money line, minus $1.30, but I also laid the $1.35 a little bit smaller in that first period over as well with Kakkonen. We've seen the first period over cash in 6 of the last 8 meetings, and with Kakkonen, he can just give up 2 on his own early in the contest. So, Isles minus $1.30 and the first period over 1.5 minus $1.35. Play those both a little smaller since we're laying juice.
I know about the Islander back-to-back one. It's a good point. They haven't won on a back-to-back this year, but I'm looking past it today. It's a negative situation for New Jersey. That's a fucking big-ass downer of a loss yesterday against the Ottawa Senators, and the Islanders got a little pep in their step back, and no travel for them. They played the night game. The Devils played the night game. The Islanders played the early game in the afternoon. So it's a better, easier turnaround for the Islanders than it is for the Devils. They have a shit goaltender in net, New Jersey here this afternoon if it's Kakkonen. So I'm looking past it. I'm staring right in the face of that winless back-to-back record for the Islanders this year and say, not today. It ends today, I think.
This spot reminds me a lot of, and we both liked it the other day, Arizona taking on Seattle. That was such a bad loss, demoralizing loss for Seattle in Vegas. And then to turn right around, Arizona's not a good team and not a team really worth backing this time of year. But that spot dictated there was a dead team they were playing against, and they still hung on tough. I don't think that's even going to be the case here. I think the Isles win this one pretty handily.
Yeah, no doubt. I still think the Islanders get it done. And I like Hudson Fasching. Absolutely. We mentioned it a few shows ago about him moving up to the second line, and he scored against Winnipeg yesterday afternoon. Plus 650 is an incredible price. That's bargain bin. That's actually on the short list to be bargain bin special of the night for me on the show today. Hudson Fasching plus 650. What do you think here, Matt? Devils Islanders.
Yeah, I tend to agree. I think Capo is not capable of having a good performance tonight. So I think pregame, my only play was going to be Islanders team total over 3.5 plus money. But I think Alex talked me into the first period over as well, just given that he, can give up 2 on his own. If the Devils do, get some pushback after last night's game, I could see both teams scoring here. I'm not going to take both teams to score because I lean that it'll be 2-0 Islanders after the first. But it kind of covers my boundaries. And I was looking, minus 135 for first period over isn't a terrible price. It's not like the Pitt Colorado price. So I'll be on first period over and team total over for the Islanders. Those will be my 2 plays pregame.
Actually lean to first period full game over too. I might sprinkle on a bifecta here, but definitely more money will be invested in the Islanders money line and team total for me here in this game. The bifecta would be very small for me in comparison. All right, next up, Florida and Philadelphia. This should be an interesting matchup. We've got the Panthers minus 160 road favorites, 6 the total, shaded to the under in this game. I'm telling you what, Flyers might win this. I have not bet Philadelphia, but I kind of lean home underdog here. I kind of look, they've had Florida's number this year. John Tortorella's Flyers have played Florida very well. They've beaten them back-to-back games, both times in Florida as well. So this has been a Flyers team that has been a thorn in the Florida Panthers' rear end lately. So from that standpoint, I'm not laying $160 with Florida. That was an intense, physical, emotional game last night with the New York Rangers, national television. You have to extend yourself, go to overtime, go to a shootout, and you end up losing. So no doubt this is not a spot for me to lay minus 160 with these road warrior Florida Panthers. And I've talked about how Florida's been awesome on the road. How many times have we gotten Florida, short price? Florida, even money, Florida's an underdog on the road. That's not the case now. And they're not playing great. They're 0-3-1 now in their last 4 games. Got injuries, including to the captain, Alexander Barkov, who missed again last night against the New York Rangers. From all indications, I don't think he's going to be back here tonight either for the Florida Panthers. As of right now, don't expect him back. And they miss him. And, of course, the blue line's taking a hit now. Not only Ekblad out, but now Gustav Forsling day-to-day. So you're talking about now those are 2 of their best defensemen. And if Forsling doesn't go tonight, suddenly Josh Mahura, Brandon Montour, Nico Mikkola, Balinskis, Kulikov, and Ekman Larson have got to shoulder way more of the workload. So, yeah, this is not a spot for me to trust Florida minus 160 against a team that's given them problems this season, the Philadelphia Flyers. So this is going to be for me one where I'm not going to take Philly. Believe me, I'm tempted, but I am going to take the draw here. Florida and Philadelphia could see another overtime here with these 2. With Florida went to overtime. Remember the games in Florida, Philly won them both. They were very close, tight games as well, and they both were very low scoring, if I'm not mistaken, as well. So this could be an under spot. Now I know it's going to be Stolarz here on the back-to-back, but he's been excellent. Don't sleep on Anthony Stolarz right now. He's been very, very good for the Florida Panthers in a backup role for this team in between the pipes. Philadelphia had Ersson yesterday. You would think they turned to Felix Sandstrom, give him a start here tonight for the Flyers. Not confirmed, though, as of yet. Right now, the draw, lean under, lean Flyers. What do you think here, Alex? Panthers, Flyers.
Yeah, I like the draw here as well. It's a good draw season spot with these 2 teams needing points. But I like the over here, and it's dropped to 5.5, $1.30. In fact, I had over 6.5, or over 6, I should say, flat at plus 105. I cashed out of that and got the 5.5 minus $1.30 because I think 3-3 heading into overtime seems about right. So I'm willing to lay that little bit extra bit of juice to get that number. Like I said, mentioned not only is it Anthony Stolarz, but it's also Felix Sandstrom in net for Philadelphia. So you got a backup battle here. And like I said, Florida, not being in the best of form, I think they're going to get that offense on. That's the thing we've seen with Maurice. Obviously, we know he's heavy on the cycle, heavy on being responsible defensively. But when this team kind of starts to lose games and slag off a little bit, he lets them, he'll open up the gates and lets the horses run free. And that's where we see that offense take over and win games. And sometimes you have to do that. You have the talent and ability to win games offensively, and you're going through a rough patch. Just roll the puck out there and get some goals. And I think that's what Florida's going to do here. So I like the over, and it's a little smaller of a bit for the draw. But I definitely could see this one being a 3-3, 4-4 kind of contest because, like I said, Philly just matches up well with Florida. And wouldn't it be something if these two teams end up meeting in the first round? Florida's got, thinking about Florida, New York, Eastern Conference Final. Well, you got to maybe have to get through Philly and what's going to be a tough. And it's going to be a completely different setup once you get a Tortorella team in the playoffs. It's going to be all shut down defense. So Maurice Tortorella in a playoff series might look like something we watched when we were growing up in the 90s. But this game, I think that's going to be a little bit of the opposite. I expect goals here. So I like the over and a little bit of the draw.
All right, good stuff. This is actually a sandwich spot for Florida. They're off the Ranger game on ABC national television last night. Huge game. Philly today. Guess what they got Tuesday on our live betcast Tuesday night? Boston. First place showdown in the Atlantic Division. So it's a nasty little sandwich here for the Florida Panthers tonight against the Philadelphia Flyers. And again, no Barkov, no Ekblad, and maybe no Forsling. So you're talking about two of your best three defensemen and your captain, and expected to win on a back-to-back here on the road against a very desperate Philadelphia Flyers team. So we'll see if the Panthers are up for the task. They are a pretty fucking tough, mentally tough team, but there's only so much you can deal with the injuries, and you're actually scuffling a little bit. We'll see how it goes. The good news for them is, like I said, Anthony Stolarz has been sensational for the majority of this. Like, his numbers are really good. His numbers are number one caliber right now, number one goalie caliber. That's how good he's been in these backup starts this year for the Florida Panthers. Matt, what do you think here, Florida, Philly?
Yeah, my only play is the over. I also got in at 5.5, and it really comes down to Felix Sandstrom. He did have a win early in March against a really struggling Ottawa team. That was when Ottawa was very out of sorts. Not that they're back in sorts by any stretch, but he had a good game early in March, but his last three appearances, two of which he came in off relief, he gave up 3 on less than 15 shots, and then obviously gave up 6 against Boston about a week and a half ago. So I don't trust him, and at a 5.5 price, I love that. I think Florida's got some injuries, so I do think Philly gives some pushback. I was thinking about making a case for Philly team total over, but as you mentioned, Stolarz, former NA South player. He was in the same division as me when I was playing juniors. He's been playing lights out. So, I can't trust that, especially Philly coming off a nice win last night, or I guess yesterday morning against Boston. So I think it could be like a 4-1 type game, a 4-2 type game. So I don't like the team total over for the Flyers, but I definitely love the over at 5.5. You lay a little price at -130, but for a 5.5, that's not bad at all. So that'll be my only pregame play. I'm interested to see how this game goes, though. Florida's kind of, I don't want to say struggling by any stretch, but definitely not playing how they were, 3 weeks ago. So, and Philly, is still battling tough despite the scratching Couturier and all that sort of stuff. They've still been, finding ways to win. So I think it'll be an interesting game. I'll probably tune into this one, but yeah, my only pregame play is the 5.5.
And just a little more context on Felix Sandstrom, too, even going back to his numbers, the AHL, he gave up 3 or more goals in 6 of his last 8 starts down with Lehigh Valley before coming up. So he's had, you look back, he's had decent records and still giving up goals. So this guy, that's just something he does. You can win a game, but he's going to give up 3 goals just about every start, it seems like.
That's the fly in the ointment right here for people like in Philadelphia or people like in the under in this game. It's Felix Sandstrom. His numbers aren't very good. 4 goals against, 8, it's not a good save, 860 save percentage. But Stolarz, man, I mean, that's another thing too that worried. That's what kind of kept me off Philly too, is that if it's Stolarz and Sandstrom, and we're projecting that, see, Stolarz has much better numbers than Sandstrom. 2.02 goals against average, 925 save percentage for Anthony Stolarz. You can't ask for much better than that. He was sensational the last time we saw him against Calgary. He was terrific in that game. 1 goal, 36 shots. Big edge in net on paper based on the numbers for Stolarz if this is the matchup.
He's quickly working his way to being one of the better backup goaltenders we've seen in the last several years. He's right there. Laurent Brossois.
Former Flyer, too. You think he's going to want to beat Philly?
Yeah. That's who
started his
drafted him.
career there. Yep, in the Philadelphia organization. So that's a good game, though. I can't wait to watch that. There's actually really good games on this card. And this is another one coming up. Toronto and Carolina. We've got the Carolina Hurricanes minus 190 home favorites in this game. The total sitting at 6.5, it looks like. Yeah, 6.5 shaded to the under here in this game. This is an interesting one. Toronto is banged up. Toronto is severely shorthanded right now. They were missing, of course, Tyler Bertuzzi last night with the illness. They are already without Mitch Marner as well up front, but they gutted through it. I can't believe with the personnel that they had out of the lineup that they played as well as they did for well over 2 periods last night. They were phenomenal at 5-on-5. They dominated Edmonton, at 5-on-5 in the first 2 periods. And people will say, typical Leafs, they almost collapsed. Well, I think they took their foot off the gas pedal, knowing they're a little short-handed. They got the Carolina game tonight. And look, a lot of the Edmonton goals in the third period to make it interesting were power play. They still didn't give up much at 5-on-5 in that game. So I wouldn't worry too much about that. People are saying, well, they almost blew it. How can we really be that pumped up about how they played? No, I think the situation dictates maybe they let their foot off the gas, knowing they played again tonight, knowing that they were a little bit shorthanded and depleted. And I think here, when you look at this spot tonight, the question's going to be what's in the tank. But I know one thing. It's a revenge spot for the Leafs. They lost a heartbreaker at home against Carolina last Saturday night, where they had a 4-2 lead. Carolina gets not 1, but 2 goals with the extra attacker to tie the game. And then they end up, of course, Carolina being victorious in the shootout in that victory in Toronto last week. Now, for tonight's game, it's Joe Woll in net for Toronto in this one. Of course, it was Samsonov last week in the Hurricanes-Leafs game. And Samsonov played last night. He got injured. This was going to be a scheduled Joe Woll start anyway for Toronto. So he is in net. They went with Kochetkov in the game against Toronto last week. Kochetkov was in against Washington, obviously, on Friday. But early indications are maybe Freddie Anderson gets a shot here against his former team, the Toronto Maple Leafs. I'm very tempted by Toronto at this price, quite honestly. I am. Woll's been good. Woll was very good against Washington the other night. And I think when you look at it, he was sharp. Buddy's nerfed. He's not been sharp. He was sharp against Washington the other night. That first period, I had first period money line and first period puck line. And if not for some saves by Joe Woll, I don't win those bets. Believe me, he was sharp that night against the Washington Capitals. I'm tempted by Toronto at this price. I am. And keep in mind what the schedule looks like for Carolina coming into this game. Yes, it's back-to-back for Toronto. But Carolina's playing their 6th game in 9 nights. And Rod Brindamore said after the game Friday night against Washington, they had nothing in the gas tank, nothing. And you could see it on the ice. They had nothing. They defensively, did you see all the mistakes Carolina made against Washington? Those were fatigue mistakes. Those were mistakes you make when you're physically and you're mentally drained and you're physically and you're mentally tired. You played 5 games in 7 nights. Now you're playing 6 games in 9 nights for the Hurricanes. And you had to travel back from Washington a little bit. And you've had to travel like crazy lately. So, yeah, it's the Leafs a little shorthanded and on a back-to-back themselves. But this is not at all, in my opinion, a great Carolina spot, given it's 6-9, which is insane. That's absolutely absurd. The schedule makers would do that to a team. 6 games in 9 nights? Are you shitting me? How can you put a team through that kind of schedule? Plus, you got the Leafs in revenge. This young kid's good enough in net. I will sprinkle on Toronto here a little bit at plus 160 in this game. I think it could be a bifecta game as well, just because, you got teams that are tired on both sides, exhausted a lot of energy lately. Carolina in the Washington game, 10 games in 16 nights, Rich is saying, Rich H in the chat. Like that's asinine. That's absolutely, utterly incomprehensible and ridiculous that a team is put through that. 10 games in 16 nights for the Carolina Hurricanes. So I can't expect them to be at their best right now. And they've shown these signs lately, too. The Philadelphia game wasn't a great game, even though they won. They were not sharp in that game either. So I think this is a big price to be laying with a team that's played a fuck ton of hockey here the last few weeks. So, yeah, we'll go with Toronto here a little bit, plus 160. I think the over by Fecta might be in play a little bit as well. What do you think here, Alex? Leafs, Hurricanes.
Yeah, I'm kind of pulling a play from you, and I'm going first period money line, I should say, and full game money line with the dog here with Toronto. This is like I said, terrible scheduling spot. 6 and 9 would be okay for something to do in October, November. Not do that to a team in March in the middle of a run toward the playoffs. That's just absolutely brutal. And against quality competition, and not just any last game. You had a game where there were 13 goals, should have really been 17, 18 goals. So a lot of energy expended. And now you come back home. This is just a bad flat spot. I expect to see a team that looks like they've been on the road for about 5 or 6 days. 5 or 6 games. That kind of a spot. So I like Toronto here. Like I said, with Wall in net, I feel confident in him. Got to see what happens with Samsonov, of course. Now, Jones was the backup last night. Jones will back up tonight. But obviously, they're going to need him back for the stretch run. So you have Wall healthy. Maybe ride him. He can go on a little bit of a run. Started with this game here. So give me the Leafs as a dog, first period and full game.
All right, there you go. First period and full game money line for Toronto here in this game. I only went full game, and it's because I want the third period burn in the legs of the Carolina Hurricanes on my side of this. 6 games in 9 nights, 10 games in 16 nights. And when they get to that third period, the legs are got to be burning.
Live totals
through a schedule like that.
Maybe third period, both teams to score. Third period, over stuff like that.
Yeah, no doubt. But it's a great game. It's a fascinating one. I know the Leafs felt absolutely sick after they lost to Carolina, which means I think even with maybe Bertuzzi misses again, although he hasn't been ruled out. I don't think Marner's coming back. But at the same time, I think the Leafs, they're going to bring it here. It's just a question of is it going to be enough here to get the victory here in this game. What do you think here, Matt? Toronto, Carolina.
Yeah, so I tend to agree. I don't know that I'm going to actually bet on Toronto, but I love their.
I know that always has to make you pause a little bit when you play it back in your mind. Yeah, I actually have to bet on Toronto, right? Yeah.
Well, it's nothing against Toronto necessarily. Like Carolina's a great team. I'm definitely not laying minus 190 with their schedule being how it's been. But I do like Toronto to score 3 goals in this game. And then, then if it is like a 3-3 draw type game and then Carolina gets a lucky goal in overtime, I'm still happy because Toronto got over 2.5 goals. So I think, I don't think you're crazy for laying money on Toronto. I might sprinkle a little bit just given that it's plus 160. But the big play for me pregame will be Toronto team total over 2.5. It's like minus 120, minus 125.
Yeah, I'm going to split it up too, Maddie. That's exactly what I'm going to do. I'm going to split it up. Full game money line and that team total at 2.5. Yeah, good call.
Cool.
Yeah, that's what I'm doing with the bigger dogs now because there's been more than one occasion where the big dog loses the game and they get 3 goals and the team total still hits. So you want that. Would you rather split 1-1 or go 0-2 or 0-1, I should say, if you just bet the money line? So that's exactly why I like adding a little team total to it. Yeah, this is a perfect example of bet prices, not teams. You got to sometimes think that way. All things created equal. Like let's say it's no travel situation.
Oh, Ian Pros. Yeah, I mean, I get it. Yeah, if it's spot and schedule, and for me, like I said, I'm not no hesitation betting Toronto in this spot. I know we hesitate to bet Toronto in general, but like I said, it's spot and it's schedule, and that's the reason for this. Yeah, like I said, if Carolina's a much better team in my eyes than Toronto, and like I said, if there's no crazy travel, then this line's closer to Carolina lane, even 150. I would be siding with Carolina, probably Carolina regulation.
There you go.
But when you look at just how bad of a scheduling spot this is for Carolina, and like you said, the Leafs having a formidable, capable goalie, and we know that their offense can show up. And I trust them more sometimes on the road than I do at home. If this was reversed, we're talking about Leafs laying 190, absolutely not. But we're talking about Leafs on the road, and I think that the bookmakers almost give them a little too much respect at home, and maybe a little not enough respect on the road, and that's why we're even getting the price like this.
All right, yeah, exactly. That's what it's about. I think in this situation, that's damn expensive for Carolina, minus 190. given the 6 games in 9 nights, 10 games in 16 nights. That's a ton of hockey. Like I say, if Carolina's minus 160 here and they've got a rest advantage, a significant rest advantage, I would definitely not be on Toronto. But I think in this game, there's definitely an issue here that I personally have with all the games that Carolina's played in this condensed period of time. Yeah, Bobby McMahon to score a goal, Max Domi to get an assist. I mean, you have to keep looking at these props. They keep cashing right now for the Leafs. John Tavares over 1.5 points. You have to keep cashing that too. I remember Brett Skalski used that early in the week as a best bet, or as a bargain bin, I should say, on the show. John Tavares has had like multi-point games, like 3 or 4 in a row now. And that's been a great bet. John Tavares over 1.5 points. Holmberg, moved up to the top line during the game last night. He actually took Matt Nyes off that Matthews line and put Pontus Holmberg up there. And Pontus Holmberg scored 2 goals. So there's probably value there with him as well. And then for Carolina, Seth Jarvis goal. Do we even have to say it anymore? He just scores every game. You got to look at Seth Jarvis as far as goal props. Gensel over 1.5 points. Gensel's been a repeated 2-point or more guy in the last few games since he's been with the Carolina Hurricanes. This is another game where I do think we'll see some goals, a decent amount of goals with the fatigue factor in play. That this is a decent game to factor in and consider with some player prop options here in this game. All right, Edmonton and Ottawa, all Canadian matchup here. We've got Edmonton minus 190, road favorites here in this game. The total 6.5 across the board in this matchup. I think it's a nice bounce back spot for Edmonton, quite honestly. Obviously the game did not start well and did not end well for them last night against the Toronto Maple Leafs. But I think they have a little bit of an advantage here coming off the loss last night to Toronto, plus the fact that Edmonton, actually it's quicker for them to get to Ottawa from Toronto than it is for Ottawa to get back home to Ottawa from New Jersey, where they played last night. They did get a nice win, 5-2. And like I said, the Senators are going to be capable on certain nights of playing spoiler. Just don't know if I want to trust them tonight to play that spoiler against an Edmonton team coming off the defeat last night against Toronto, looking to bounce back. This is going to be one where I'm going to do 2 bets. Edmonton first period puck line. Edmonton, actually 3, split it up between the 3. Edmonton first period puck line, Edmonton in regulation, and also Edmonton team total in this game over 3.5. That's the way I'm going to approach it here in this game. I think Edmonton gets back on track. They have been pretty good off a loss, very good in fact, off a loss since Chris Knobloch took over as head coach many months ago. What do you think here, Alex? Edmonton, Ottawa.
Yeah, I'm just gonna go with Edmonton first period puck line. I'm seeing plus 140 over the season, so I'm gonna lay the half and go with Edmonton. Like I said, I think they at least get off to a hot start. And then maybe just kind of look to adjust live in game with like a bigger card. So, keeping some games a little bit smaller. This is the one where I'm kind of not leaning too heavy on anything with.
All right, there you go. Edmonton first period puck line for Alex here in this one. Matt, what do you think here? Oilers, Senators.
Yeah, honestly, this is probably a pass game for me. I was even looking at maybe taking Edmonton team total, but I'm seeing minus 150. I don't know. I'll probably pass this game. Maybe something live, but pregame, I'm just going to take a pass on this one.
Nothing wrong with that. A lot of games on this Sunday card. We don't always have that as the case, but that definitely is the case right now with the Sunday slate here. Just a ton of action, ton of games. As far as props go, Hyman did score last night. I was hoping for more because he was against Toronto, but Toronto did a great job, at 5-on-5 defensively. They didn't really give the Oilers as much as I would have thought. So we didn't get as many goals or points as we were hoping for from Zach Hyman, but he's obviously worth a look. McLeod, Fogle, Corey Perry. That's another thing you got to remember moving forward. Doesn't matter who he plays for, what the game is. Against Toronto, Corey Perry's going to score a goal. He'll find a way, and he did that last night.
And something to note about Corey Perry, too, he plays that same role that Zach Hyman does on that second line. That they're right in front and they're always kind of circling and tailing around their screens, but they will clearly bump out of the way and get right to the side of either side of the net to get a puck right on their stick. So that's something to look for. We've been talking about Zach Hyman, first goal, Zach Hyman, different things. You can kind of tail Corey Perry in those same kind of looks because he plays that same kind of position role for Edmonton.
Yeah, no question. Definitely. Matthew Joseph has been actually a brighter offensive force the last few games for Ottawa. So if I'm going to look at someone on their side, there's probably a little value right now. Matty Joseph for the Ottawa Senators at this point in time. All right, we've got the Dallas Stars taking on the Arizona Coyotes next up in the desert, the little bandbox there, the Mullet House, Mullet Arena. Dallas minus 210 road favorites. 6.5 being the total here in this game. Alex and I cashed a best bet on Friday with the Arizona Coyotes, but that was a much different matchup. They were playing a Seattle team that's kind of dead to rights at the moment. A Seattle team that's obviously got all kinds of issues just falling apart before our very eyes. And it was more a bet against Seattle than it was a ringing endorsement and a bet on for Arizona. At least for me, it was. And they end up getting the overtime win there, 2-1. It was not easy. But they ended up getting the job done in that game against the Seattle Kraken. But now they got to take on a Dallas Stars team that is Dallas putting that pedal down to the metal finally as they rev up for the playoffs. You know, we've seen some signs of it from them the last few games where Dallas has, they took, they handily beat Pittsburgh. They were in control of that game start to finish on Friday night. It was a better performance from them. And then, of course, before that, they played Arizona early in the week. It was Arizona early in the week. 5-2 home win there. 3 wins in a row during that homestand, LA, Arizona, and Pittsburgh. And I know as a Stars fan, Matt Robinson's bemoaned the slow starts and, sometimes playing down a little bit to competition. But, Dallas is taking care of business the last 2 games against teams they should beat. And they had a nice home win against LA, who have been playing pretty well lately. Can they keep it rolling here against the Arizona Coyotes? They've got San Jose on Tuesday night, where Matt Robinson will be in attendance for that Stars and Sharks game on Tuesday night at the Tank. And like I said, he'll be able to spread out, put his feet up like he's at home on the couch because there's nobody there in attendance. It'll be a Halloween costume party. Everyone dressed as empty seats there in San Jose on Tuesday night. So there's no look ahead. The question's going to be, do you take care of business again here against Arizona? Series history is any indication, they should. They've won 6 straight times over the Arizona Coyotes here in this matchup. This is my game where I don't have a strong feel for it or a strong take on it. I would lean over full game just because we've seen 3 straight overs head-to-head, Stars and Coyotes. 3 straight head-to-head meetings have gone over the total between these 2 teams. In the goaltending matchup tonight, we're expected to see Ottinger and Ingram for their respective teams, but it hasn't been confirmed yet. I might get in on over 6.5 here a little bit. And I don't even know if I'll do first period because Dallas first periods haven't always hit. It's worth noting that lately. The second period overs continue to cash. That's what I'm going to be looking at here in this game too. I'm going to put over 6.5 in pocket pregame. I'm not touching the first period, but we're going to have to jump on the second period over, second period, both teams to score maybe for a little bit as well. Because the run is now 27-4. Don't forget about that crazy second period over run we've seen for the Dallas Stars. 27-4 to the second period over in their last 31 games, and look, we timed it perfectly. We were all over this on social media Friday night with Pittsburgh Dallas. It started out with 8 minutes or so with no goals in that second period. Terry Edelman jumped in on it. I jumped in on it. A lot of people did. We got the minus 120 that we were looking for on over 1.5 in the second period of that Penguin Stars game. And literally 30 seconds after I placed that bet, Pittsburgh takes a penalty. Dallas scores on the power play. And then they scored right after that. Bingo. A quick, easy over 1.5 live bet winner at minus 120. That's the approach for me. We're not betting it pre-period. We're going to wait. We're going to see if we get our strike price, minus 120 or better. And if we do, we're going to add over 1.5 in the second period here with Stars and Coyotes. Alex, what do you think?
Yeah, this is a game with a lot of live spots. That's probably mostly how I'd be attacking it. But if you're looking at betting Stars second period overs, second period both teams the scores, you're getting boxed out early. I'm looking at FanDuel right now. They're already opening these things at over 2.5. So 1.5 is the high juice of gone. It's the same thing that happened with the first period overs years ago. And anything that runs this hot on a trend, you're going to get screwed with the prices pregame. So it's a bunker game. And what I mean by a bunker game is that if you're going to bet this second period, you got to shut everything else out of your life for the next 25, 30 real-time minutes to try to get the best of this number. That's the only way. You have to just be laser focused, have everything ready to rock, and try and get the best of the number in the second period. So I will be looking at that mostly. Even with the first period over, I think we'll still have enough time. We saw it just narrowly missed the last time these two teams played. Dallas has cashed 5 of their last 8 in the first period over, but we're getting great spots now where we can read and react with the Stars team, and we can grab things live. So I'll be looking for live first period overs, live second period overs, and just kind of attacking things from there. Arizona is a team, like I said, unless there's a spot where they're playing against a team that's out of it, they're just going to be, the Arizona Coyotes and be dead in the water. So Dallas should win this one handily, but I think we'll have enough time in game to grab all the overs that we like because they just simply aren't starting fast. It's usually either the other team getting the first goal or they're just dominating. They're controlling the pace, but the way they're controlling the pace is just by just possessing the puck, not really taking a whole lot of bad time shots, which that's fine. They're preparing themselves for the playoffs, essentially. And that's something we have to keep in mind as much as we like to, you look at sometimes teams, once they get in the playoffs, they kind of revert and look back to how they were playing at the beginning of the year as far as up-tempo, faster pace hockey. Of course, we saw it with Dallas. That's why we like the first period overrun in the first half of the season. I don't think we're going to see that with Dallas. Game 1, round 1 of the playoffs, I think we're going to see a team that's trying to play a little bit low and slow, and they're going to try to counterattack team. They're going to, get things done off of the opponent's mistake, not necessarily press and try to make too much noise on their own. And that's a smart way to play. They have the talent to do that. So we have to adjust accordingly with our bets. So this is definitely going to be a live team to look at the next couple of weeks, certainly with this game. Live first period over, live second period over, nothing pregame.
There you go. Well said, and that's a good strategy to take with this game. This is Bailey in the chat, I see, saying, trusting the Stars is like trusting my ex-girlfriend, trying to hit Matt Robinson where it hurts the most, apparently. What do you think here, Matt? Yeah. Dallas, Arizona.
Yeah, I think this is a big Dallas spot. Sometimes, like the Dallas-Florida game, I was like, it's a toss-up, but I think this is a game Dallas has to win handily. They're 6-0 in their last 6 against Arizona. Their last 2 at the Mullet were 5-2 and 7-2. My little brother is going to have boots on the ground. He's going to the game tonight, so that'll be cool. Last time he was there,
I was just about to ask that, knowing that he plays his college hockey right in that arena. I mean, he's got to be going to that game.
Yeah, he tends to always go. When the Stars are in town, obviously, so he'll be there. I think this is one of those games that I'm hoping it's a more scoring affair for Dallas than maybe the Pittsburgh game. Even I'd like to see the Stars put 5 or 6 in the net. So yeah, I'm on Dallas team total over. I like Dallas in regulation, and then I'm going to sprinkle a bit on the Dallas puck line. It looks like 5 of the last 6 Stars Coyotes have been Dallas puck line: 5-2, 4-3, 5-2, 4-2, 4-0, 7-2. So Dallas has kind of had Arizona's number, and I don't expect it to slow down tonight. Again, they're kind of there was multiple interviews after the game on Friday night. They seem focused. They know that they're gearing up for the playoffs. They're playing some inferior teams. I mean, Pittsburgh's still kind of in the hunt, but teams like the Coyotes, teams like the Sharks, given the Central, where the Central's at, they have to have 2 points in those games. And I think they're kind of realizing, they've lost a couple overtime games against bad teams this year. They can't even risk getting to overtime. They just need to dominate the play and win the game in regulation. So, and then obviously some great props available. I think that Sagan-Duchesne line is going to be rolling again. It didn't take them long to look good. That Sagan goal, that pass by Duchesne, I know I'm a biased Stars fan, but that was highlight reel worthy. That was such a sick pass. So look for them to keep the chemistry going. I mean, Ben's playing lights out. He's on a 5-game heater. I'm hoping the first line wakes up a little bit. It's funny, last year that was their only scoring, and this year they're almost playing as a third line. So I mean, Robertson's been sneaky. He hasn't had the flash that he's still up, like I think he's close to 80 points. Like, he's still up there, but it's like he's not scoring all the goals, so it's kind of like assists here and there, so things like that. But yeah, I mean, this is similar to the Nashville game where Dallas went off. I feel that they should dominate. They'll probably lose 6-0 now that I say that, but no, I think this is a spot that Dallas needs to roll. So I'm I'll have a lot of bets going on Dallas tonight,
Yep.
and then hopefully it continues into San Jose on Tuesday, because then I'll have boots on the ground. So.
And we talked about it yesterday with Dallas. We said that, they got to make up that ground in the regulation wins column, because, and even with Winnipeg kind of looking a little weaker of late, you still do not want to open up a best of 7 playoff series in the whiteout in Winnipeg. You don't want to open up a best of 7 series in the altitude and that crazy crowd with Denver. You want to try and at least get home ice if possible. So, like I said, you have to bury these bad teams late and get 2 points. Do not screw around. Do not go into overtime. Got to take care of things in regulation. So, yeah, we did kind of touch on that yesterday.
Yeah, we see a dog in the background there when Matt was talking. Does that mean Arizona's going to win this game? They're live here in this game? Well, hopefully not. Hopefully not. But 5-2, that's not bad, Aaron. I like that. Aaron's in many of our bet casts recently. 5-2 plus 1,800, correct score sprinkle. Why not? That's 5-2 has been a lot of – and we almost had 5-2. Again, that damn
should have had 5-2.
Yeah, against Pittsburgh.
Sagan had the under. I'm convinced. I mean, he missed a wide open net from the top of the circle, and then was offsides on Robertson's goal. I think he had the under bet, and didn't want them to get that 5th goal.
It's quite possible. And Alex has definitely ranted over the years about the missed empty net opportunities that have cost us overs and various puck line bets, and you name it.
Well, and Marchman hit the crossbar on his shot from the red line. It was like
everything could go in.
Yeah.
The only blemish in an overall pretty good game, because I had the first period over, first period both teams to score, Stars team total over, the live second period over, everything but that full game over. But I can't complain too much. All right, Tampa Bay. Oh, by the way, for props, I agree. Duchesne. He's been great since coming. Sagan's been back on that line. That line's been very good. Jamie Benn, I think you roll with him. He's been heating up right now. Goal, assist, maybe even an over 1.5 points in this game. Stankoven and Wyatt Johnston. I'll never say, not a good idea to bet those two guys. I'm always interested with Wyatt Johnston and Logan Stankoven. So definitely some good props there. And then for Arizona, Cooley, Keller. Those are two guys, the two players, Gunther as well, who got the overtime winner against Seattle the other night. So there's some props I would look at for Arizona. All right, Tampa Bay, Anaheim. We've got the Lightning minus 225 road favorites, 6.5 being the total in this game. I'm running it back like last night. First period over, full game over by Fecta. More on the first period over, though, which is now 14-2 in the last 16 Tampa Bay Lightning games. Nothing more that needs to be said. I said this shit yesterday. I don't need to go into more detail. Over 1.5 first period, over 6.5 full game. Alex, what do you think here? Lightning Ducks.
Yeah, first period over. I was able to grab it this morning, minus 130. Not only do we have the 14-2 run with Tampa Bay, but 6-2 the last 8 meetings with the Tampa Bay and Anaheim to that first period over. So this is one where, and if you've seen these high prices now, anything above $1.45 and higher, wait a couple minutes, because Anaheim's a team that they know they can't compete and match speed and intensity with Tampa Bay. They want to try and slow things down, and they do kind of play some slower starts on Sundays. I have noticed that. So I think this is a game where you can grab some. If you got 130 or better, by all means, stay with that. But this is one where you can definitely grab a little bit better price in game. Grab a little, maybe $1.30, $1.25. And then you can maybe even wait a little bit longer and grab some plus money on top of that as well. I think the goals might come a little later in the first, but it was second goal that last night came in with 6 seconds left. So, we can definitely have a little bit of room to grab some better prices, but loving the first period over. That's the only thing I like here.
All right, first period over for Alex. Just the first period over, no bifecta for Alex. I'm on the bifecta, but I'm on more of the greater percentages on the first period over, like it was last night in the game against LA, which was my best bet, by the way, Lightning and Kings. And we got it in the final seconds, man, with that tying goal right near the end of the period. But the best bet streak rolls along thanks to some late first period heroics from that Lightning Kings game last night. Lots of props. I'll get into them in a moment. But first, Matt, what do you think here? Tampa Bay, Anaheim.
Yeah, to be honest, I don't know. I don't love the sides or totals here. I mean, obviously I favor Tampa Bay, but I'm not going to lay minus 225. My only pregame play is a prop, and I'm going to be on Anthony Duclair anytime point. It's minus 115. He's been really good on that top line. I also see that Kucherov is even for over 1.5 points, which is shocking. I mean, I think I think the thought process there by Vegas is, they'll probably, if they do get up early, that line will see a decrease in minutes against a bad Ducks team. I mean, but how do you not? That's too enticing. So maybe I'll jump on that as well. But yeah, as far as sides and totals, nothing for me pregame, but I might try and jump on a live over if it is a slow start.
All right, there we go. Duclair, yeah. Any Duclair props? Point Kucherov over 1.5 points. I'd come back to that. Point did get 2 points last night, Braden Point, even against a very good LA team. Kucherov, though, did not. And it has been a while since we've seen Nikita Kucherov get fewer than 2 points in a hockey game. But last night was one of those nights against LA. But again, LA is a pretty decent team as far as defensively. But I would say those props are worth a look again tonight. Duclair, anything Braden Point, anything Nikita Kucherov. Stamkos is streaky, and Stamkos had a nice night last night for Tampa Bay. So maybe you can even throw him into the mix right now in this game, especially if you're looking at same-game parlays. Bailey's right in the chat. For Anaheim, the clear target has to be Alex Killorn against his old team, the Tampa Bay Lightning. Now, he already played them in Tampa. This will be a game here, second time playing them this season, and he's actually been one of the brighter offensive, performers lately for the Anaheim Ducks. So, yeah, Alex Killorn to get a goal is definitely worthy of a wager here in this game for the Anaheim Ducks against the Tampa Bay Lightning. We should see, by the way, Dostal in net for Anaheim, which is the concern I have slightly about the overs, but he hasn't been nearly as sharp the last few starts. Other than there was one that he was really good in, but he's had a few more bumps in the road. But more importantly, Jonas Johansson is expected to be in net for Tampa Bay with this being back-to-back. And this might be, too, one where I don't know if I've got the guts to take Anaheim plus 185 when Tampa lost last night, but Anaheim team total, if Johansson is indeed confirmed, over 2.5, might add that to the portfolio because I'm certainly not fully trustworthy here of Jonas Johansson right now. And again, we talked about it yesterday. His numbers since Andrei Vasilevsky returned from injury, he had actually he had a pretty good run, decent run at least for many starts when Vasilevsky was out early in the season. Then Vasilevsky comes back, and then anytime Johansson got in after that, he wasn't as good. So we'll see how they fare. That's a good point by Rocco. Even though Dostal's been pretty good lately, the Lightning have hammered him in the past. It's true. So we'll see if that continues here tonight. All right, next up, we're down to just 2 games left. Montreal and Seattle. We have the Seattle Kraken minus 160 home favorites. The total in this game, 5.5, shaded to the over. This is going to be dog and draw split for me in this game. I'm not holding back. It is straightforward. We're betting against Seattle hand over fist until proven otherwise. This team has just fallen really off the map completely, struggling mightily. They know they're not making the playoffs anymore. So I think when you look at this spot here for the for the Seattle Kraken, now you're laying minus 160 here in this game. And I don't want to say they've totally, Kenny in the chat, given up the Seattle team, but it's just more of a mental thing. You know, they've played a lot of hockey, a lot of important games at home, and they have not found a way to win, and they have not found a way to win close games lately either. And the Arizona game was a perfect example of that. So, yeah, Seattle's not going to lose every single game the rest of the season. Obviously, they're going to win some games here and there, but I just think, especially tonight, given the fact that they're laying minus 160 here in this game, I'm okay taking a shot with Montreal. Is Montreal the most trustworthy team to go into Seattle and win this game tonight? No, based on what we've seen from them. But the idea of fading Seattle in their just their downtrodden state right now and their awful form, 7 straight losses as a minus one, being able to fade that as a minus 160 favorite is appealing enough for me to take Montreal here, plus 140. And I'll sprinkle on the draw here as well in this game between the Habs and the Kraken. It is worth noting Seattle went to overtime against Arizona. Montreal's gone to overtime or a shootout 5 times in the last 10 games. So they've even played some tougher hockey. I know Montreal's struggling. They've lost 4 in a row. But look at the opponents, right? Boston. Calgary was not a good one because Calgary's kind of mediocre. And then Edmonton and Vancouver. Of course they're going to lose those games, or at least you'd expect them to lose those games. The Boston game, the Edmonton game, the Vancouver game. So they played a pretty tough schedule here, Montreal the last few games. So yeah, Montreal Canadiens plus 140 and a little smaller bet on the draw here for me in this one. Alex, what do you think here? Montreal, Seattle.
Two teams playing for exercise. I got nothing here.
Nothing wrong with that. Yeah. As far as props, when I look at this game, Slavkovsky, Newhook, Harvey Pinard moving up the lineup, I could look in those directions. Hard to target anyone for Seattle. Nobody's firing away offensively right now. This team hasn't scored more than 2 goals in 5 straight games. And over those 5 games, they've scored a grand total of 6 goals. So to say this Seattle offense is, trustworthy right now, it's definitely not the case. So it's been a rough go for the Kraken. Looks like we're going to see a Sam Montembeault, Philip Grubauer matchup in net. And by the way, we've talked about Vince Dunn, who might be missing in action again. They're 1-7 now without Vince Dunn in the lineup, this Seattle team. So we've talked about it ad nauseum, just how much they miss him and his puck movement from the back end. And I think it's really, you've seen it play out on the ice. Their offense has suffered significantly without Vince Dunn on that back end to start the rush for the Seattle Kraken. All right, final game of this Sunday slate. It is a great Sunday slate. I'm just, it's just so amazing to see this many games, and there's quite a few high-quality games. This one not nearly as high quality, but interesting nevertheless. The Buffalo Sabres taking on the Calgary Flames, as I believe Buffalo wraps up their Western road trip here tonight in Calgary. We've got Buffalo minus 115 road favorites, 6 being the total here pretty much across the board in this game. This is definitely one where the over trifecta kind of appeals to me here, and I get it that we've seen good things from Ukko-Pekka Luukkonen, picked up back a pickle peppers lately in net for the Buffalo Sabres, and he's expected to be in net here. And Dustin Wolf, on the back-to-back will likely be in net for Calgary because we saw Markstrom last night against Vancouver. But there's still some growing pains for Wolf. At the NHL level, 3.25 goals against average, 897 save percentage for him, Dustin Wolf. He's going to be good in the long run, but he's not NHL seasoned just yet. That's the point about Dustin Wolf right now. So I think, with this being Buffalo at the end of a long road trip, fatigue a little bit, Calgary, defensively, like I've said, they're a team definitely that I don't trust at the defensive end of the ice without Tanev and Hanifin since they traded those 2 guys away. And they've been giving up, the majority of games, they've given up 4 goals or more to the opponent. I'm going to do over trifecta, and I'm going to sprinkle a little bit here on over 3.5 with the Buffalo team total as well in this game. I think Buffalo's not going to make the playoffs because it's not what they're doing or not doing. They're winning, for the most part, other than the Edmonton game. But they've been winning games lately. The problem for Buffalo is they're not getting a lick of help. Okay, the teams ahead that they need to track down are winning. The Islanders won yesterday. The Capitals are still a team they've got to leapfrog. Detroit, got off the schneid a couple games ago. They're not gaining a shit ton of ground, Buffalo, even with the wins that they've registered over the last week. So I think they're just going to run out of racetrack. Not enough games left, and they're not making up enough ground right now, the Sabres, to get there. So, but I don't think they're giving up. It doesn't sound like it. They played Edmonton 3-3 going into the third, and yeah, it was a bad third period, but that game was there for them. I do think they win, but I think the better route instead of minus 115 is that team total. I think that's the better approach if you like Buffalo here, especially when you can get over 3.5 at plus 145. I'm even seeing plus 150 for the Buffalo Sabres over 3.5 with their team total, which means at BetMGM, you could probably get that down to over 3 and get like even money or minus 110 on it if you want to be a little more security. If in case they just get 3 goals and at least you get a push. Definitely, I'm interested in Sabres team total. I like over trifecta here in this game as well. What do you think here, Alex? Buffalo, Calgary.
Yeah, I definitely like this first period over 1.5. Laying $1.30 here. Like I said, Wolf has struggled, and we've seen him. And I think, like I said, maybe this is a Calgary thing because we've seen him struggle. And the
blue line's worse in front of him now too. Keep that in mind.
Certainly, but we've seen him struggle early. And I've seen him kind of look a little unconfident, a little shaky early in net in some of those games. And so that's something to kind of keep an eye on. Remember, that was the issue with Markstrom last year, giving up first shot, second shot of the game. It's not that bad. But it seems like this issue with goaltenders getting comfortable in the first 10, 20 minutes of play. So I don't know what that necessarily is about, but that we can capitalize on that by looking at looks in the first period. So I like that first period over. I do like over 6 laying $1.05. But I'm not so sure about Buffalo winning this game. Like I said, last on the Western road trip, I think their legs could be a bit fatigued. And like I said, I think if what I'm seeing is true, Wolf will get a little bit stronger as the contest goes on. Maybe Buffalo's leg kind of give out a little bit. So I like the Flames here, minus $1.05 and even at a plus price. So I'm going with Flames money line, but I also like the first period over and the full game.
With going with Calgary. See, I think the 2 days off could help Buffalo. They haven't played since Thursday night against Edmonton. We'll see if that gives them more energy and gives them a chance to replenish after that 8-3. Really, that game was kind of a misleading score. I mean, that game was 3-3 going into the third, and it just got – then they padded it with a couple of late goals, empty netters, the whole bit. So, but we'll see if Buffalo can respond from that. Calgary won twice in a row in Buffalo, and Buffalo has won twice in a row in Calgary. So this has definitely been a road team series history in the last 4 meetings. Last 4 meetings, the road team has won every game. So we'll see how if that continues here tonight. Matt is back with us. A little dog walking just now, by the way, off screen. What do you think here, Matt? Buffalo and Calgary.
Yeah. The chat was mentioning the dog was running around when I was talking about Dallas. She usually just chills when I'm on the show, so I was like, something's up. So she was biting at her leash, and I was like, okay, she's got to go out. So, good to be back. But yeah, I like the over by Fecta here. With these two teams seeing a 6, Calgary's been very defensively inconsistent since the Tanev departure and Hannafin. But so yeah, I'm on the over by Fecta, and then I'm with you, Ian. I like the Buffalo team total. I am gonna drop it to over 3, just for a little safety net. But yeah, I just can't see Calgary, shutting the door, regardless of who they're playing. And as you mentioned, Buffalo is still alive. They're not eliminated. I think, it might be an impossible feat for them to get into the wild card spot, but they're still playing for something. So I think they come out and at least score 3 goals in this game. So those will be the only pre-plays for me. I lean Buffalo, but I think the team total is a little safer bet in case we get like a 3-3 draw and then you get overtime. So
yeah, as far as props, Pospisil and Zary, if they remain up the lineup for Calgary. For Buffalo, Paterka has been put up on the top line recently, and he's been making good on it, and he's been producing for the Sabres. I think he had 2 goals against Edmonton the other night. So JJ Paterka, I think definitely on the top line. Got to look in that direction for Buffalo. That's the main prop for them. Benson always, consideration. Cooled off a little bit, but, as long as he stays up there on the top 6 forward group, it's probably some value. All right, great stuff. That is the Sunday card. Shout out to everyone in the chat. Hit the like button here on the way out if you haven't done so already. And a reminder, patreon.com/Ice Guys, just $10 per month. And again, we got our more Patreon exclusive live betcasts coming up, of course, in April and beyond. We're really ramping up the live betcast quotient in April. Once we get past the NCAA tournament, we're going to start to get into the routine of a betcast once a week or once every 2 weeks at most. And we are really going to have a ton of these betcasts. I know I'm excited for them. Alex, Matt, and of course, all our Ice Guys family. Same thing with when the Stanley Cup playoffs arrive. We will be doing at least one betcast a week throughout the Stanley Cup playoffs. And we'll probably be doing another one. We'll probably do 2 a week, one free one Patreon live betcast throughout the Stanley Cup playoffs per week. So like I say, we're going to be going pretty heavy with the betcasts during the Stanley Cup playoffs. We're looking forward to it. So again, perfect time to sign up. Patreon.com/Ice Guys. You get our daily sides, totals, and player props posted on the page, goalie charts, totals charts, and more bonus video content. And your $10 per month subscription goes a long way to keeping this show rolling for the long term. So make sure you sign up. Patreon.com/Ice Guys, just $10 per month. And join us Tuesday night for our betcast, March 26th, 7 p.m. Eastern time. It is a loaded Tuesday night NHL card this week. A great night to have a live betcast. This one, of course, is public, free for all. Anyone can join us. DM or email me or Alex for a spot on the betcast Tuesday night, and we will send you the link for it before it begins. And even Matt's going to check in from San Jose at some point Tuesday night during it as well. So looking forward to that. Tuesday night, March 26th, 7 p.m. Eastern time for the Betcast. And make sure you check out the Ice Guys store. Get your gear and your merch each and every day. iceguys.myspreadshop.com.
Yes, today and tomorrow we still have free standard shipping for all who place orders at iceguys.myspreadshop.com. Just click on the redeem button at the top of the page and add things to your cart. When you check out, you will get free standard shipping. So that is today, Sunday, and tomorrow, Monday, at iceguys.myspreadshop.com.
All right, great stuff. All right, bargain bin special of the night and best bets to wrap up the show in just a moment, right after we hear from our daily sponsors, Boston Hemp Inc. All right, Boston Hemp Inc. Make sure you check them out and get 20% off all orders on the website using the promo code ICEGUYS at bostonhempinc.com. All right, bargain bin special of the night, a rare Sunday where we've got plenty to choose from. Alex, what do you like for your bargain bin special tonight?
Yeah, we're going to head out to the city of brotherly love, Philly. They're taking on Florida. Like I said, it should be a good game. I expect goals. And I think the first goal of the game will be coming from none other than Sam Reinhart. This guy's just been absolutely electric all season long. You can get him to score the first goal of the game, plus 950 at FanDuel. I grabbed that earlier during the show. So Sam Reinhart, first goal for the Florida Panthers, plus 950 is my bargain bin special for Sunday.
All right, there we go. A little first goal prop for Alex B. Smith with his bargain bin special of the night for this Sunday. Matt, what do you got for your bargain bin here for this Sunday?
Yeah, so I'm obviously going to go to the mullet. There's a couple guys I actually like for over 1.5 points, but this guy has been snake bitten for Dallas. He's getting a ton of chances. I think the floodgates open tonight. I'm taking Rupe Hintz over 1.5 points. He centers the first power play. He's obviously the center on the first line for the Stars. He's been struggling as of late on the score sheet, but he's all over the ice. He's getting chances, so I think he breaks the ice tonight and gets over 1.5 points. Rupe Hintz.
All right, there you go. Rupe Hintz, Dallas, over 1.5 points for Matt Robinson, his bargain bin special of the night for this Sunday card. My bargain bin special, gosh, there's a lot of good ones. I mean, Pontus Holmberg's a good one for Toronto. Bobby McMahon's a good one for Toronto. Alex Killorn for Anaheim against his old team. And it goes Paterka. I mean, it goes on and on. There's lots of great choices. But I think the Islanders could make a muck of Kaka here and Kaapo Kakkonen. And I'm going to go with Hudson Fasching, who scored yesterday, who's up on the second line for the New York Islanders, plus 650 at FanDuel, BetMGM, PointsBet. All three of those books have him at plus 650. I think it's great value. Hudson Fasching, New York Islanders, plus 650 for my bargain bin special of the night for this Sunday card. All right, best bets. Alex, what do you like for best bet?
Yeah, we'll head out to Raleigh. Go with the Toronto Maple Leafs, plus 160. This is just an awfully big price for a pretty good team going up against an opponent that is in a horrible scheduling spot. Carolina has played 6 games in the last 9 days, had that absolute barn burner on Friday. This is just a spot where I think Toronto, with a decent goaltender and Wall, we know that offense, they're just going to roll the puck out in their way and just get goals early and often. And like I said, late in the game, I don't see where Carolina's going to have their legs underneath them. So Maple Leafs plus 160. That is my Sunday best bet.
There you go. Big dog. Toronto Maple Leafs plus 160 against the Carolina Hurricanes. Best bet for Alex B. Smith. Matt, what do you got for us here for best bet?
Yeah, so I mentioned it earlier. Dallas has beat Arizona in 6 of the last 6 games, or sorry, 6 in a row. And while doing that, they've scored 4 more goals in every single one of those games. So give me Dallas team total over 3.5. You can see it around -125, -130. I think that's a great price for a team that's done it 6 straight times.
All right, Dallas Stars team total over 3.5. -125, -130. Best bet here for Matt Robinson on this Sunday slate. My best bet for this Sunday card, boy, this is interesting. Lots of good choices. I'm going to go New York Islanders here, minus, and I'm going against that friggin' back-to-back for this. I get it. They're for on a back-to-back. Not today. Not today. Not with Kaapo Kakkonen in net and a New Jersey team that is fading. Bad loss last night. A little momentum and positivity for the Islanders after a huge win to snap their ugly losing streak against Winnipeg yesterday. They ride the momentum with Sorokin in net this afternoon. New York Islanders -125 against the New Jersey Devils for my best bet for this Sunday NHL card. That'll wrap up this edition of the Ice Guys. Thanks to everyone for joining us. Hit the like button on the way out. Now, Matt, I know you're in San Jose Tuesday. Are you still good to go for the Daily Show Tuesday?
I don't believe so. I don't think
Okay.
I'll be in the car during that time. So yeah, I'll probably not be on the Daily Show Tuesday, but I do still plan on checking in during the betcast. I'll pop in while we're at the hotel before we head over to the arena, and then maybe I'll jump back in once we get to the arena so you can see all the seats around me and no one there. So
yeah, no doubt. Give us a little glimpse inside the old Shark Tank there, PHP Pavilion or what, SAP Center, whatever the fuck it's called now. They change the name all the time, but that's all right. Good stuff. We'll see you, Matt, for the betcast for a little bit, and then he'll be back on Thursday on the Daily Show. I hope you're listening to this, Terry Edelman. You might be on call on Tuesday to be on the show. So you might get another opportunity here to join us and fill in on Tuesday. Of course, Brett Skalski will be with us tomorrow on Monday. Alex will be off tomorrow. Alex will be off Tuesday's Daily Show, but he will be with us for the betcast, Alex. I'm looking forward to that one. I mean, Bruins, Panthers, and a slew of other really good games Tuesday night.
Yeah, I'm definitely looking forward. I'll be on for the long haul for Tuesday evening, so definitely looking forward to what's a great slate of games and what should be another fun and hopefully another profitable betcast.
Yeah, no doubt. Looking forward to that. A reminder, the Ice Guys is live 7 days a week, Monday to Friday, 2 p.m. Eastern, Saturday and Sunday, noon Eastern. If you can't watch the show live, download the Ice Guys podcast in audio form on all major podcast platforms, Google Podcasts, Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Stitcher, iHeartRadio, Amazon Music, and more. Download the Ice Guys podcast when you can't watch the show live. For Alex B. Smith and Matt Robinson, I'm Ian Cameron. Have a great Sunday. Enjoy the games and good luck. And we will be back with you tomorrow on Monday for another edition of the Ice Guys.